Road to WrestleMania 42 rolled through Texas with another jam-packed episode of Raw, including the returns of Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. And yeah, there was a lot of stuff building towards that show, as well as AJ Lee versus Bayley for the women's IC title. So yeah, a lot going on. And we started things off with Seth Rollins hitting the ring, accompanied by an army of masked and hooded associates. The former world champion grabbed the mic and immediately threatened the Vision, telling them, "I created the Vision and I will kill them." Paul Heyman arrived on the scene dishevelled and unshaved, his right eye bloodshot and his face bruised and scratched. "Letting you in my inner circle is the worst decision I ever made," Rollins said before vowing to cut the wise man out like the cancer you are. Heyman repeated the FAFO phrase, but on the last one uttered F5, and Brock Lesnar made his presence felt. He stalked to the ring before obliterating Rollins' cronies one by one, leaving him face to face with the Visionary. The arena darkened, Obafemi strutted the ring, and Ruler proceeded to deliver a massive powerbomb that flattened the future Hall of Famer, a foot to the chest and a point to the WrestleMania sign. And yeah, this was just brilliant. I mean, Femi comes away with this in massive style, teasing Lesnar v Rollins down the line, but I think, you know, the prospect of Femi v Lesnar is what we all wanted at WrestleMania, and I'm so happy it's going to be a reality, because that's, yeah, it's going to be a banger. Before we then got the original El Grande Americano versus the current one in a grudge match. The OG dominated the contest, especially late, absorbing everything his opponent threw at him and advancing. He fended off interference from Bravo, but Rayo entered the ring and slid the metal plate inside Americano's mask. When the OG came off the top rope with his trademark headbutt, he caught the weapon, crumbling in a heap. Americano rolled him up and scored the tainted win. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. I don't know, yeah, this just isn't really working for me. The crowd prefers Lee Wick Kaiser's version. I want kind of the original Chad Gable back, and it obviously had all of the heel stuff in there. It's just disappointing considering the level of talent involved. Before we then moved on to Bayley living out her dream on a Monday night, challenging AJ Lee for the women's IC title in what may have been our last chance at securing a spot on WrestleMania. Highly competitive match saw Bayley take the fight to Lee, setting aside her personal feelings for the woman who inspired her to get into the business in favour of winning the title. On a few occasions it looked like she might be able to do that. She delivered a Bayley's belly suplex that should have won her the goal, but Lee kicked out at 2, further sending the challenger into desperation and frustration. Ultimately, despite being the better wrestler throughout much of the match, Bayley found herself trapped in the Black Widow with no choice but to tap out. After the break, Becky Lynch attacked Lee, sending her into the Raw stage, then laying her out in the Royal way, sending a big message to her rival. It obviously seems that we're going to get that at WrestleMania, no surprise there. So yeah, that'd be a nice way to round off the feud. But I think it was a pretty fun match. Obviously Lee's still getting back to her best, but I think what we got here was a really solid match. And then yeah, obviously Lynch v Lee, we've seen it a few times before, but I think I'm not against one last match at Mania. Two of the elite luchadors in pro wrestling squared off in an unadvertised match as Dragon Lee answered an open challenge for Penta for a shot at the IC title. What ensued was action-packed, uber-athletic contest between two creative aerial artists that nearly culminated with a corkscrew tope suicida to the champion on the outside. Back inside, Lee entered, delivered Enter the Dragon, but was unable to keep his opponent down for the count of 3. He delivered one last blow, but Penta dodged it, delivered the Mexican Destroyer, and won an absolute banger of a match. This was fantastic. I love these open challenges, and you know, really showcase both these guys brilliantly, and the IC title as well. So it gets an 8 out of 10 from me. As we then moved on to Maxine Dupree v Natty in the latest chapter in their rivalry, Dupree was outmatched and overwhelmed early and often out-wrestled at every turn. No matter what she attempted to get going, she succumbed to the fury of Natty. The third generation superstar downed Dupree late with a discus clothesline and applied the sharpshooter for the submission win. And yeah, to be honest, it just feels like this feud is very cold now. It's becoming too much of a repetition. And yeah, Natty just winning easily. So to be honest, I'm a bit tired of this now, and I kind of hope both people can move on to something a bit more exciting. So I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. Moving on then, the Women's World Champion Stephanie Booker battled Raquel Rodriguez, who was accompanied by a Royal Rumble winner and #1 contender Liv Morgan at ringside. La Primera controlled the action early, sending a message to her WrestleMania 42 opponent. As the action spilled to the outside though, Rodriguez sent Booker into the back place, knocking her out. Back from the break, Big Sexy dominated the action, utilising her size and strength advantage to control the pace and keep the champ grounded. Booker fought her way back into the bout, executing her devil's kiss, but Morgan made her presence felt. Io Sky arrived on the scene, fending the heels off at ringside, only to be pounced over the announce table by Rodriguez. Back in the ring, La Primera caught her opponent with a roll up for the win. I don't know, it was a strong match. Not one that I'm going to remember for a long time, but I think it's all about kind of setting up that WrestleMania match. It did an okay job of doing that, so I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Welcome to my ring, welcome to my main event, Roman Reigns said as he came face to face with CM Punk in the marquee promo segment of the week. Reigns hurled insult at Punk, including not main eventing European tour and not being the big money ball that his wife is. Punk stopped the tribal chief from leaving, telling him he would tell Reigns when he could leave and vowed to beat him at WrestleMania. For all the insults, the OTC called the world champion old, that earned him a hard right hand to the face. Raw GM Adam Pearce and other WWE producers rushed in to pull them away, leaving Reigns to chirp and hear in the camera as the show went off the air. I mean, yeah, another fun promo segment. I'm kind of playing to each other's weaknesses. It was just a whole lot of insults. It felt laid out to give Reigns the upper hand, and that makes sense considering last week. So yeah, good stuff. And overall, Raw this week gets a 7 out of 10 from me. It was a strong episode of Raw this week. Obafemi, I thought, kicked off the show brilliantly. I mean, that has to be one of the best segments I think we've seen on Raw for a long time. That was fantastic, and the show as a whole was better in recent weeks thanks to some great in-ring action such as Penta and Lee. The women's division was rightfully featured as well. The main event segment didn't quite hit like the others for it, but it did advance the story. A quality show that fast in-ring and competition and Mike work to build to WrestleMania 42 well for me. So that's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe, follow us on our socials, link in the description below for daily wrestling news, meme and content. Subscribe to our other channels on screen right now, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.